is Dorsey to throw. Yeah! He throws it in the end zone.
Off to the races. Can they catch it? Cuts it back. Ohio State
The Ohio State of Mind podcast hosted by Josh Keatley and Michael Chin.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Ohio State of Mind podcast. It is Monday, September 9th. Obviously, we are not coming to you on Wednesday. We're going to switch this up. We feel like it's just a little bit better to get a little bit of game reactions a little bit sooner. So, unfortunately, our schedules don't allow us to do a immediate post-game podcast. So here we are. We're going to switch it up. So Mondays going forward, everybody, make sure that you change your calendars. And, if you watch on Wednesdays, that's okay too. Just watch that replay. So once again, this is the Ohio State of Mind podcast. It is episode number 43. And I've got four choices there. I'm going to go with the recent one because Darren Lee was just absolutely awesome. I think we all remember him. He obviously didn't have the greatest NFL career, but damn, he was one hell of a Buckeye, Ohio kid too as well. And gentlemen, what do we think of my choice here for 43?
He was definitely my first.
You'd go with Darren Lee as well, Chris?
Absolutely.
You put these four guys together. You called me and I was like, oh dude, all four of those guys are good. And then you brought up Brandon Schnicker, and I completely forgot about him, dude.
Hey, yeah. him and Brandon Joe at that 1-2 punch.
Great
man.
fullbacks. Yeah, man. They were great.
Yeah.
Trestle ball, baby.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I like Darren Lee as well. Ohio kid, played quarterback at New Albany, made the transitional linebacker in college. He was so quick. This is back when I worked at Browns Wire, so I was talking to some NFL draft scouts at the time, and I had the honor of talking with one at a Panera Bread. We were watching Darren Lee film, and we were going over how it didn't matter whether he was doing the right thing or wrong thing. He was so fast that he made up for whatever issue he had. He was so fast. He's one of the few guys that could run the wrong way on a play and still make the tackle. That's how athletic that dude was. So, I mean, he's one of the greats. Big shout out to Calvin Murray too. Calvin Murray doesn't get a lot of credit and because of the giant pantheon of talent at the running back position at Ohio State, but Murray still has, he's in the top 10 with the longest runs, top 10 with the longest receptions. The dude was an absolute burner, an absolute speedster, had a short career with the Wranglers of the USFL, as well as the Eagles and the NFL too. So shout out to Calvin Murray. He was also a very, very quality running back.
All right. Yeah, and Nate Williams, great pick as well. He was a very solid defensive lineman, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He followed up John Simon. Didn't quite live up to the John Simon hype.
Yeah, because Williams was a very highly rated recruit as well, wasn't he? If I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone's like, this is like either an upgrade or like at least on par with what John Simon did. I think John Simon doesn't get enough love too because he had a very solid NFL career on top of that. He didn't make a lot of tackles. He didn't make a lot of tackles, but he played in the league for a number of years. So,
very good player. Was undersized, so he didn't get enough credit. Nathan Williams is kind of the same. He went to a really small school on the way to Dayton. I can't remember what it's called, Thomas Worthington or something like that. I don't know. So he's kind of like a big fish in the little pond or whatever. But yeah, he was on the cover of some preseason magazines going into his last year there. And just he was very quality, but maybe didn't live up to the All-American hype that a lot of people expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like
took some classes with Big Nate.
Yeah, a lot of 5 stars, a lot of high 4 stars come in with all this hype. They don't play against the good competition week in and week out in high school, and they get to the college level and they realize that what, everybody's just as good as me here, and there are certain things that separate those players when the talent level is equal, and a lot of it is right up here. A lot of it has to do with your mentality. It's it's about hard work, at that point in time when the talent levels are equal. So, if you go out and you do your thing, that I think puts people over the edge. Coaches notice that kind of stuff. Like, let's be
Well, I
real.
think too,
They know.
You're absolutely right. I completely agree with that too. And a lot of it too, it's not just even a mental thing. Some of it's the talent gap closes, right? It's just like when you go from college to the NFL, the talent gap also closes a little bit there, right?
Big time.
If you're elite, if you're Terrell Pryor, yeah, you can stay up all night, smoke pot, get head and rock and roll on game day and not even have to sleep and be perfectly fine. But if most guys can't do that. And when he went to the NFL, he could do it. Denzel, perfect story, right? Would stay up all night doing cocaine, absolutely explode on Saturdays. And then when he went to the NFL, that lifestyle didn't fit. I think high school's kind of the same way with the off-field stuff, but it's kind of like your gameplay. Like, I think we see a little bit with CJ Hicks, where that kid he dominated a smaller school where they basically didn't call defensive plays. They were like, all right, CJ, go do whatever you want to do because you're so much bigger and faster. And then when you go to Ohio State and they're like, hey, you have to do that. You have to fill the B gap, fill the A gap, drop back in coverage. You got hook curl concept. And he's like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think some of that might be the issue as well. Not to pick on CJ Hicks. We'll get there, but
no,
it's interesting.
No, I think you're right. Because you have superstars, like mega stars in high school, and you don't want to get them angry. You want to have them kind of play and do what they need to do, to get that attention. And I think that football IQ, I think, is a super underrated aspect of the game.
Agreed.
I think a lot of people really put a lot of stock into that, and I think that plays a big part when you get to that next level, from high school to college, and everybody else is the best player to ever come out of that high school as well. Yeah, and it's definitely a shock. It's not as easy as you would think, and then like you said, Josh, when you go to that next level in the NFL, man. I mean, just look at what Caleb Williams did this week. Everyone's like, oh, this guy's gonna come in and just. I mean, they won. The Bears won. They didn't win because of Williams. He threw less than 100. He threw for 93 yards.
93, yeah.
His fingernails are pretty, though.
Yeah, his fingernails are pretty. But let's be real here. He did not look like an NFL passer on Sunday.
He did not.
Yeah, he looked rough. He'll be all right.
No, I think he'll be all right. I agree with that. I think he just needs time to get adjusted to the speed of the game. I think that's the big difference. Yep. And all that scrambling crap that he did at USC, where he'd just kind of run around in behind the line of scrimmage and just avoiding defensive linemen, that is not going to work in the NFL. It is just not. The athletes are bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. They understand, your little deeks, and they've broken down all your film. They're not going to fall for that crap. So, yeah, no, the jump is significant, and some guys like Nate Williams, who are super highly recruited, come in and don't perform to that level. So it is part of it, and that's why you recruit 25 guys every year, and let guys go to the portal now who just aren't going to make it. So, but anyways, the Buckeyes they played well this weekend.
They played well.
56-0. I think playing well is an understatement, obviously. Not a lot to be concerned about. Gentlemen, let's talk about how we feel week 2, following another Buckeyes win.
Yeah, Mike, you want to kick us off? I mean,
yeah, sure.
I mean, I don't want to go first.
I have been rambling a lot. I love the defense. Love the defensive effort. A lot, especially the defensive line. Shoot, my cat hairs in my mouth right now because the cat was walking around here. Sorry about that. I love the defense. For me, this team is as good as the defense will be. I think offensively, I think we've seen now that they can move the ball. The 1-2 punch of Judkins and Henderson is going to be just a terror for opposing defenses to stop. You've got a budgeting superstar in Jeremiah Smith, who this is the second week in a row where you're just like, this kid's, he was in high school last year? Like, what? Like, you're kidding me, right? Are we supposed to check his birth certificate? Really? Like, and there's not a lot, there's not a lot. I think if there's one aspect of anything that we could be critical about, it's once again, it's the linebackers. in our group chat during the game. I'm just like, look, I think it's pretty obvious that Arvell Reese needs a lot more playing time. The dude just makes plays like left and right. I think that he could be, a really, really good piece to this defense. I'm still, Sonny Styles still bothers me a little bit. I think he's a little bit too flat-footed. He's not seeing the game as he needs to from the position quite yet. I think he's a work in progress. Do I think he'll be good? Yeah, I definitely think he'll be good. Do I think he's good now? No, obviously not. Not up to the standard. I mean, obviously, I think that he would play for the majority of other teams. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
But the Ohio State standard at that position, he's just not quite up at that level. And I'm just like, I think that kind of when you look at everything, I didn't include Gabe Powers, and you got to shout out Gabe Powers as well, because that young man has played very, very well through the first two games. Pick six in game one, very, very solid.
I don't know why he doesn't play more. All he does is
that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's exactly what I said in the group chat. I'm like, these guys have earned it. They need to play in crunch time. I think that the return of Cody Simon, if I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I noticed it. It was huge. I think it was massive. He didn't put up a ton of stats. I think he's got three. He had three tackles and a sack, right? I think his impact far reaches what his box score was. Just leading.
Yeah,
he's the guy. He's the guy with the button. He's the guy that's getting the calls. He's directing where the defense needs to go. I think his experience, on top of the fact that he knows the defense so well at this point in time that Jim Knowles doesn't need to tell him what to do. He can probably call the defense on his own. And so I think it's a big understatement about his return. And aside from that, I mean, can you really complain about a 56-0 win?
Chris,
finding it hard. I'm finding it hard. If we go back to last week, we had the spread. Ohio State in 38, they hit that. Over under was 52.5. They hit that. It looked like a vast improvement. It's wild to say that a 56-0 win is a vast improvement over a 52-6 win. But it was there. Of course, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about that questionable targeting call at the very early onset of the game. I didn't see a whole lot. I don't know how you go ahead and take that play out of the game without just being physical football players. I mean, I thought that was kind of wild. Ohio State, they went and they shut out Western Michigan. They held them under 100 yards. It was the first time they'd done that since 2017 when they played, in fact, Western Michigan. So a little bit of history there. I think running backs got a lot more straight on zone blocking that looked good.
Oh yeah, offensive line in general looked better. I thought the pass blocking looked way better too.
I absolutely noticed that. I noticed Arvell Reese, like we said, hey, he had a awesome third down solo stop tackle for loss. That was like, what are we doing here? And again, we saw Cody Simons back, and I did see a lot with Cody Simons and Styles in there. A lot of being a field general, a lot of getting people into place. And let's be real, we want to see Gabe Powers, we want to see Arvell Reese, but we want to see them in meaningful downs. And let's be real, how many meaningful downs are in this game? I don't know, man. Let's be real. When Ryan Day went out there, I couldn't decide my emotion. Ryan Day in the fourth quarter, or no, it was in the third. They were up 35-0. It was 4th and 8, and they went for it. I'm like, am I upset or am I happy? And that was an internal struggle I was having. Like, man, I just want to see them just crush them, run the ball, do that. But then the other side of me is like, I can't decide. But again, it's with a longer season, it's absolutely crucial. If the opponent is not giving you the situation or the scenario or the down and distance, create it for yourself. I think Ryan Day did that. Offensive line looked better. If I were to find one tiny nitpick, if you go back and look at the broadcast on Travion Henderson's last touchdown. Tegra Chabot was playing right guard, and he pulls. He does not get out there in time, and he totally puts an Andre the Giant chokehold on this dude, like right in front of the ref. And I was like, "Whoa!" Big Ten Network had it clear as day. I was like, "He's just about to just choke slam this dude." Held him bigger than hell, but Travion Henderson scores. I'm not going to be the one to raise the right flag. Nice to see Devin Smith in there. Nice to see Devin Smith in there with the number 2 wide receivers who could easily be number ones. Or Brown. Devin Smith. Brown. I know. I did the same thing with Mbuka and Jigba all last week as well. Then seeing Julian Sayin. Let's be real. He should be, I think, me personally, I think he should be the future. I think we look at next season, we're looking at Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, and I was talking to Josh earlier. If Julian Sayin plays well, shows well, and him with Julian or Jeremiah Smith coming back next year, does that entice maybe a junior in Quinshon Judkins to come back? I could only hope. I think it's a pipe dream.
Yeah.
I think it's a pipe dream. But
why do you think Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon are getting so many carries right now?
Oh,
I think it's very obvious that the coaching staff knows what his decision's going to be.
I'm looking at James Peoples' play, and I'm just waiting for that one long weekend where Chip Kelly puts in the flex bone and throws 3 backs out there. Let's just try it. What's the purpose, or what's the point of not giving it a try? Yeah, offensive line looked like they gelled a little bit more. They blocked together and they blocked off each other, which didn't look like it was a thing last week. And my one question for the both of you is, I noticed the entire offense. So I know their unit or side of the ball or team incentive. Why did everyone have Buckeye leaps but Will Howard? Not a single Buckeye leap. I was wondering if it's something to do with the green dot on the back. I don't know. But if you go back and watch, not a single Buckeye leaf on Will Howard. Was curious.
I did not notice that.
Josh, let me get to this first, and then we'll get to and then you can answer and roll right into your recap. Sound good?
Okay.
All right.
Do it.
I don't know what happened there. I'm actually watching the replay of the game. I'm at halftime, so I'm trying to scroll forward to get to it. But yeah, I didn't notice that, to be honest with you. And if maybe it does have to do with the communication system. I don't know, but it is a little odd because you'd have to assume that he graded out fairly well in the first game.
You assume.
I mean, right? I've seen that board. Have you guys seen that board in the Woody? I mean, obviously I saw it in Trestle Days, so it's clearly it's definitely changed. But I remember walking through, because I walked onto the baseball team and in the when we started practice for the season, it's February, and obviously in Columbus it's not that warm, so we were inside. So we would kind of work around the football team's schedule then, and it opened those doors. I just kind of wandered
behind the curtain.
Like, I don't know
behind the curtain, right?
Like, I don't know where I am. Like, I saw the coaches' offices, all that stuff. Obviously, this is 20 years ago, so a lot has changed. If I was to go back to the Woody, I'd be lost. Let's be real here. But I know what was like the prior expectations, and like pretty much everyone gets fun when you win. So like, it is weird. So I don't know. Josh.
So it took a quick Google. They came out and said that his helmet got reshelled, so he got a new helmet, and he got a new helmet like Thursday. They just forgot to put the sticker. They didn't know. So they just didn't put stickers on the new.
You could pay me so much less to be on the ball in there. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Like, I feel that, but yeah, man, that was the perfect game. I'm glad Chris let me vent and get it off my chest yesterday, so I would keep this shorter and sweeter. But yeah, man, that if they play like that every week, it's a national championship game. It's a national championship winning team. People are going to respond to me, and people are going to say, people have already said, like, hey, it's Western Michigan. They played nobody. They played Akron, Western Michigan. It's not about who they played. You can see greatness in how they play, right? They started out hot. That was one of the we saw issues, and they were resolved this week. They started out hot. Chip Kelly opened up the playbook. They were moving some of the things we were bitching about. They didn't move Will Howard. Well, they moved Will Howard. They ran Will Howard. They ran some RPO with some legitimate option for him to run. They didn't do that last week. We saw the offensive line combo block. Last week, the offensive line looked lost. So it's not a competition thing. This week, they look confident. We talked about Cody Simon, the linebackers looking lost last week. That's not a competition thing. That's a confidence thing. That's knowing where you're supposed to be. And they knew where they were supposed to be, right? So all those things you can see without the competition mattering. The perfect example of that, whenever someone argues with me, is Trevor Lawrence is one of his best passes in college football was when they were playing like Weber State, but it was just an absolute dime to a wide receiver that was triple teamed. You know what I mean? It didn't matter who was covering that guy. The point is that he made that throw 60 yards downfield, and it was just an absolute dime, right? Some things you can just kind of see, right? They started out they started out fast, they started out hot. And I really like that. We saw Will Howard. Will Howard played great. He almost played a near perfect game. There was two things that he did that I didn't like. He way overthrew Jeremiah Smith on that one pass, which, again, we talked about Will Howard not having elite deep ball accuracy. He's not going to be the total package. There's going to be something missing. You can still win a national championship with this guy, right? He can move better than C.J. Stroud could. But his ball is not as pretty. Okay, fine. But that's still you can still win a championship with the guy. He held on to the ball for two. He took 2 sacks. One of the sacks was definitely his fault. He held on to the ball too long. That's going to happen. He was feeling himself. He was vibing. He was grooving. He was running away. Guys like when they have those athletic guys that have momentum, they're going to get sacked every now and again. And so again, these are things that are not going to destroy them. All the running backs look great. Travion Henderson looked great last week. Looked great this week. Quinshon Judkins, I don't think that the issues last week were a little bit him feeling uncomfortable, a little bit him having jitters, a little bit the Chip Kelly's offensive play calls, and a little bit the offensive line. We didn't see that. We saw Chip Kelly kind of use those running backs, kind of what we discussed last week. Travion Henderson was much the outside sweep guy, the horizontal game, and then Quinshon Judkins was boom the vertical game, right? So boom, 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 boom. The offensive line played great. I agree with Chris, where the only offensive lineman that I saw slip up or have a couple plays where he didn't play well was Tegra Shabola. And they pulled him a lot. They moved him around a lot. So a lot of those plays, those are difficult plays to make for a guy that's starting his second game in college football. So, Austin Several on the other side played absolutely amazing. And that was a guy who did not play amazing the game before. Josh Simpson, back, played with aggressiveness that we have not seen. Seth McLaughlin, there's plays where he's blocking 2 people at a time.
2 guys.
There were plays last week where he
the Judkins 22-yard touchdown, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple plays.
Yeah, that was a monster block. Like 2 guys.
Yeah, he's Spider-Man to people, dude.
He sealed the edge by himself.
Yeah. So yeah. He did a great job. And last week, that was a guy last week that we saw looking for work. There were plays where he didn't block anybody. He just had a hand on somebody assisting Several on the other side. The tight ends still need a lot of work. Still need a lot of work blocking. We saw a little bit of improvement. We saw them be in the right spot. Now we need them to finish blocks. G. Scott missed.
Jelani Thurman's got to catch that pass too in the end zone.
Catch it. There's no.
He's got to catch that.
He's got to be better. Jelani Thurman. Got to catch that. They're giving him an opportunity. They're playing him. We're going to see him play more. He's going to have time. They're giving him the leash to be the guy. We'll see if he.
Like it.
Casimir probably played the best.
I think he's got the highest ceiling out of that group too.
He has not shown it though, right? He has not shown it.
I think he hasn't. But I think that of like the talent level, I think his highest is higher than everyone else.
Well, I think everybody agrees on that. I was like a 4.
Yeah, agreed.
A Greek god. Casimir's probably played the best because when they put him in there and he has to go down or slant down, there was a couple plays where they were pulling Fryer to go out. And then Kaczmarek would crash down and get the defensive end. He did a good job of getting in the way, which was more than what you could say for G. Scott and Jelani Thurman. But again, those guys did improve. They were pretty much a shit show last week, right? So that's one thing. The defensive line, they played great. This Western Michigan offensive line is no joke. They got 2 guys that will play in the NFL, maybe even more. And they pushed them around like they were Akron. They unloaded the depth chart. The linebackers, CJ Hicks once again stood around a lot. But we saw him get less playing time. So the coaches noticed that. The coaches put Arvell Reese in. I'd like to see Gabe Powers get rotated more in too, because every time that kid's on the field, something good happens, and he's the catalyst for that. He was on the field with C.J. Hicks at the same time, and you don't know the defensive plays, right? So some of this is just me assuming, but he went into what I thought was supposed to be C.J. Hicks's gap to make the tackle. And C.J. Hicks is still staying basically where the play started. That's an issue to me, but that also shows Gabe Powers really shining. I was thankful that Denzel Burke got kicked out because it got us a good look at Jermaine Matthews, who also played amazing. And those Western Michigan receivers are very solid. They're very solid receivers. We saw them make a lot of plays against the Wisconsin defensive backfield. That's not a terrible defensive backfield. So I have no complaints. I guess if I had to throw in another complaint, Jaden Ballard once again made a couple confusing plays on special teams, but I think the coach has kind of explained that fair catch away. I think that someone told him to do that or something. I don't remember the story behind that. Someone tried to explain that away, but at the time it was like, what are you doing, dude?
Well, the Western,
but that's it, man. I'm really nitpicking.
No. On the punt, so if you watch the Western Michigan punter, he was not getting a lot of airtime on his punts.
No.
So the returners literally were getting the ball like right with dudes like right up in their faces.
Right.
So, like,
the one was a
kickoff.
The one was a kickoff, though.
Okay.
We're talking the penalty. Or not the penalty, yeah. And they started on the 5, yeah.
Yeah, where he tried to call the fair catch, and then he caught it when he should have just let it go. Right. That's a mental error.
It was something stupid. It was like, dude, what are you doing? And he did that. He did that twice.
Yeah, no, I just.
But what I did,
it's the kickoff from the third quarter. I literally just watched it like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. But again, if they played like this every week, I know it was Western Michigan, but I don't care. I don't care that they got it. We know they have enough talent. Talent was never the question. The question is, can this team vibe? And they vibe. They vibe perfectly. That's a team that can win a national, especially after watching Oregon struggle again, watching Penn State struggle. And again, you can make excuses for all those teams struggling as well. They're trying to figure out their own thing. We're living in the day and age of the transfer portal where these teams are brand new. I get that. I'm not saying Oregon's bad. I'm not saying Penn State's bad. I'm just saying I don't care who Ohio State's playing. They look fucking good. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Julian Saint, Devin Brown look good too. I know you guys got Julian Saint Martins the starter, but Devin Brown, dude, he's not going to go silent. He's not going to go silent. And he's got 15, 30 pounds on that dude. Devin Brown looked fucking good.
It's a good problem to have, though, isn't it? I mean, you look across the country and you've got plenty of teams who are underperforming, and the direct reason is because they don't have solid quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So Ohio State's one of the few teams across the country that has significant depth of the position, and it's showing. I mean, I thought the backup quarterbacks played well. Stan got his first touchdown. Bennett Christian is a great play call. First of all, like absolutely fantastic play call on that fourth down. I thought that they allowed him to kind of get his feet wet. Obviously first time going out in Ohio Stadium, that's a lot going on, a lot. And granted, towards the end of the game, it's not full, it's not rocking, it's different, but it's still getting out there in front of everybody and having to perform. And I thought that he played well. I didn't think it was overwhelming for him. So that's, I think, a very good sign for his future. I mean, we all know what Devin Brown is. He really didn't throw the ball very well. Let's be real here. A couple pass attempts were just not good. Again, for the second week in a row. I think that's, he's
Devin Brown?
the runner. Yeah.
You saw bad passes from Devin Brown.
Yeah, he had a couple bad ones. Was he he was 3 for 6, right?
You caught which ones were bad? Chris, do you know what he's talking about?
There were ones where I looked, I was like, ooh.
Well, I mean, I won't argue that the underneath route he threw to, I think it was Ennis. That was Ennis being an athlete and catching that first down pass. I can't say that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I was not overly impressed by him. That's just me, though.
Okay. That's fine. Devin Brown's the backup. I'm going to be there's nothing more clear than that standing on that sidelines.
Yeah.
But we shall see.
No, he's definitely the backup, but we'll see what happens if something happens to Will Howard, though. It'll be interesting because, this defense, I think, could win with any of those three guys back there, to be honest with you. I mean, they're that good. So I don't know. I think it was a good week for the Buckeyes. They accomplished a lot, got a nice win, avoided what would be one of the many college football weekends where we're going to see teams get scares, right? Like you look across the country, other teams got scares. Like you look at that Alabama score and you're like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, they blew them out. They didn't blow them out. It was a one.
No.
It was a one. It was it was a single digit lead heading into the fourth quarter. Like Oklahoma only won by 2.
2 or 3,
Michigan
yeah.
got their asses handed to them, which I'm
Mhm.
sure we all love to see. Notre
Oh, yeah.
Dame got upset. Notre Dame got upset by Northern Illinois. Lots of games. Georgia Tech got beat by Kyle McCord and Syracuse. Lots of teams this past weekend who were ranked did not play well or lost. So, when you look at the grand scheme of things, coming out pretty good on the injury front. Obviously, we're still, as you can see on the game notes over there, we're still waiting for Donovan Jackson to get back, but no significant injuries in game. Come away with a nice win, a confidence builder. I think it was a good weekend for the Buckeyes.
Good weekend indeed, without question. But sadly, with that such a good weekend, we get no Buckeye football this coming up this next weekend. But we do have a full slate of Big Ten games. We have a full slate of Big Ten games, and here they are. The big one starting at Fox on Fox Big Noon Kickoff. You got Alabama coming into Wisconsin. What do we think, gents?
Oh, man.
Mike, you want to start this off?
Yeah, I'll lead it off. So my neighbor's a huge Alabama fan. He is actually going up to the game. I wish him well. I think they're going to smoke Wisconsin. I think this one is not even going to be a contest. I think Alabama, everyone kind of assumed that there'd be a little drop-off when Saban bounced and DeBoer came in. I think, what do we got spread-wise here?
I pulled these Sunday. I made this Sunday.
So Alabama is favored by 15.5. And for the listeners, we all three of us went 9-6 last week. It's funny because I took Northwestern, you two took Duke, but then you two took Iowa, and I took Iowa State. So that's kind of how I evened it out. So Chris and I are still 18, 14, and 1. Mike, you're right on our heels at 16, 16 and 1. So we're not doing great.
We're not doing terrible,
yeah, we'll see what we can do. We're starting to get into conference play. Yeah, Alabama
winning records. Yeah, I'd take Bama. I'd take 16. I think they beat them by like 28. I think Alabama smokes them.
I think with the juice, we'd probably be losing profit for the record. If anybody's following if anybody's trailing, you're probably losing money because of the juice. But yeah, with Alabama's fair by 15.5, you're taking Alabama.
Yeah.
All right. And then Chris, what you got?
Yep, I'm taking Alabama. I'm taking Alabama plus 24.
Yeah,
they're gonna by at least.
Yeah, I totally agree, Chris. Totally agree.
Okay, I'm with you guys. I think we're all on the same page. Wisconsin hasn't looked very good. They played 2 games against shitty opponents. One doesn't even have the same number of scholarships as them, and they really struggled. Alabama, they went out, they did their thing against Western Kentucky, who's not a pitiful team. We saw Western Kentucky live last year. They're okay. They're pretty comparable to Western Michigan. And then they slipped up against South Florida, which they still closed out with the victory. South Florida's not a bad team. South Florida is very much going to be in the AAC hunt. That's probably the best non-Power 4 conference, so they might even be in the playoff hunt if everything goes down right. And so, it's a bad win, but it's better than what Wisconsin's dealt with. So I'm with you guys. I'm taking Alabama. Next game, we got Arkansas State at Michigan. Michigan is favored by 23 points. Chris, you want to start us off on this one?
Hey, after getting embarrassed last week, they're going to figure something out. I don't know what that something is, but it's going to be better than it's going to be better than the performance that we saw Sunday. I was really taken aback by the starting quarterback. Give me the starting quarterback's name.
Warren Davis. Donovan
Davis Warren.
Davis Warren.
Yeah, the post game when he said that, man, I can't believe we let him off the hook. I don't know what in the world he was talking about. That blew my mind.
I saw that too. I was like, are you kidding me, dude?
That blew my mind. Dude? But that team up north, they get back on track. They win. How many points are we talking, Josh? 23 points.
23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23 points. 23
Yeah, they win by 23 points.
Cool with that?
Ooh.
I think they win by
All right,
24
Mike, where you at?
points.
I'm actually I'm gonna take the points. I'm taking the points here, man. We've seen
You're taking
what
the
this
points?
yeah, we've seen what
God.
this Michigan offense can do. It is horrendous. Thank you, Tony Alford, for leaving because those running backs suck now.
Yeah.
They are horrendous. Donovan Edwards has 66 yards on the year, I believe is what it is. He's like averaging two yards a carry, something terrible. Everyone's like, I noticed online today, everyone's like, and this was your NCAA football cover athlete, like really giving him the business, and rightfully so. And I think that's a direct response to some of Tony Alford's teachings. I read today that Carlos Lachlan has told his running backs to run to space, whereas Alford has always told his running backs to run to contact. Well, what makes more sense to you?
What?
Running to space to gain yards or running into somebody to try and bowl them over and hope you truck somebody? It's an easy choice here. You're running to space. You are running to space. And if that is the coaching philosophies between the two of them, then this was a monster upgrade for the Buckeyes. And back to Michigan, they have that defense, which is going to keep them in a lot of games. I think Texas's offense is just that damn good. But I just can't see their offense putting out points to cover that.
I can see that.
I'm with you, Chris.
I think they win, but it's like 21-6.
Not by 23.
Right.
So I'm with you,
like
Chris. I
21-6.
got Michigan. I think they're going to bounce back. They're way more talented than Arkansas State. What you're saying about I think you're giving Tony Alford too much credit, dude. I mean, Donovan Edwards has been in college for 4 years. You think someone's going to coach him and all of a sudden he's going to be bad the next week? I think that the Michigan offensive line is the one that's the issue. They got one off.
I mean, was Edwards really that
great,
good, though?
And he didn't play there last year.
Was Edwards really that good, though?
No, I didn't say that, but there's a difference between saying, well, he was good when he was healthy, but I don't think the issue, I guess my point is, I don't think the issue is the running backs. I think the issue is the offensive line. They had 4 dudes there that were not in college for 4 years, not in college for 5 years. They had some guys that were in college for they had some dudes that were playing college football for 5 or 6 years, and they're gone. They're gone. There's one guy left. Their best offensive lineman is an incoming transfer from Northwestern. That offensive line is fucking pitiful. It's bad. I don't care whether Don. And when I was watching the Texas game last week, I didn't even think about the running backs. My thought was, my God, if Texas still had those 2 big-ass defensive tackles that got drafted the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, this thing would have been over in the first goddamn quarter. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. But I do think that Michigan bounces back because they're going to be motivated, A, and B, Arkansas State blows. Arkansas State barely beat a Tulsa team that's not going to win any games this year, and they barely beat a Central Arkansas team that doesn't have the same number of scholarships. I like Butch Davis. I like what he's doing down at Arkansas State. You know, everybody remembers the former Miami head coach, right? He's got a quarterback, Jalen Naylor, who's a sophomore, who runs around a little bit, can make things exciting, but they're bad. They're a bad team. So I'm going to go with Michigan and hope that they bounce back, dropping the 23. Let's move on to the next one. We got Central Michigan visiting Illinois. Illinois is favored by 20 points. Mike, what you got on this bad boy?
I am taking the Illini. They are a flying high. The Flying Illini, the old school basketball team, they are flying high after last week's win. I think that, Brett Bielema, I don't think gets enough credit. I think he's a very, very solid coach. You know, they hosted a ranked Kansas team, and I wouldn't say thoroughly defeated them, but I think towards the end, I don't know if you guys watched it. My wife went to Illinois, so it was I think it was the Friday night game, and we were just watching, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, there is no way Kansas comes back, and there's like 10 minutes left. I'm like, there's just not a chance. They just weren't moving the ball. They just couldn't do anything. Illinois was kind of doing their ball control offense, which I think this week, you're looking at an undermanned Central Michigan team, and I think the Illini rout them.
I'm totally Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one. But we'll go back real quick. Ryan, thanks for jumping in the chat. Hey, Ryan says, "Hey, Harbaugh calling the plays or the input makes a difference." Hey, there's a difference. There's a difference wholeheartedly. I will not argue that, Ryan.
But
And
who is that difference really attributed to, though? Let's be real
all
here.
right, back to the Fighting Illini. Back to the Fighting Illini. Hey, they're riding high. They've got all the confidence after that big upset win. Give me the Illinois Fighting Illini.
Back to Ryan's comment real quick, because Coach Stewart, as I know him, that's my old coach from Valpo. Tune in and appreciate you, Coach Stewart, who knows talent within itself, by the way. Also coached at Boise State with back when Doug Martin was there. But man, I know we talk about Connor Stallions and ha, that's funny, but there is no denying that Harbaugh's a good coach. I mean, he won his first game with the Chargers. He won at Stanford. He won at San Diego. The dude is a good coach, and Sherrod Moore ain't that guy. He ain't that guy. And I don't think Sherrod Moore's bad. That's not an insult. That's not an insult to Sherrod Moore. It's hard. They're hard shoes to fill, right? I think Sherrod Moore is going to be a really good coach. It just might not be for Michigan.
Interesting.
Because I don't think they're going to have to pay. Because it's just
the
hard thing to follow.
What do you think?
Chris, I'm with you. I like Illinois.
Real quick though, I want to stay on this for 1 second, and I just wanted you to answer this. How long do you think the leash is?
3 years of sucking. 3 years of winning 8 games.
Okay.
Well, you remember he's not even under a contract right now.
That is true. That whole fake BS signing thing. Yes, Ryan, we talked about that.
Absolutely.
Well, we 100%.
Yeah.
We are on board. We are on board with that.
Yeah, we
100%.
talked about that, Coach. Coach, you're more than welcome to join us anytime you want. We moved the shows to Monday at 9, so maybe that fits your schedule a bit better. But yeah, what were you guys thinking? Were you thinking shorter or longer? Or it can't be longer. 3 years, 8 games. Winning 8 games at Michigan's not good, right? So
I think a lot of it depends on what happens with the. I think a lot of it depends on what happens with the NCAA and the kind of sanctions that could potentially happen. They put him in a bowl ban for 3 years, just hypothetical. I have no idea what's going to happen. Say they do put him in a bowl ban for 3 years. I think you have to give him a little bit more time outside of that.
It'd be hard to find someone to take that job.
Ryan,
after this year.
I think if the right coach came along, that I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan made a move, just kind of wash their hands from the whole Harbaugh thing. But like, what big name out there is looking to move right now? Who's in a bad situation?
I mean, it's Michigan, so it's not necessarily. It's not
right.
who would move.
Right.
They can pay,
but
they can blank check.
Do you think Lincoln Riley? Do you think Lincoln Riley would make a move?
Previously about the sanctions form.
Like
I think that there's only
Chip Kelly.
I think that there's probably only 4 coaches that wouldn't take that job. The problem is what you said previously about the sanctions. If the sanctions do happen, right? Yeah.
They're not.
That's a whole other thing.
Simply the great unknown.
I didn't say no one was going to touch him, but Penn State was a good job too, and they hired Bill O'Brien because Bill O'Brien was the best of who would take that job, right?
Right.
That's not who they didn't go get the pick of the litter. I love Bill O'Brien. I love Bill O'Brien. It's not a shot at Bill O'Brien, but at the time he was kind of his resume was as long as mine.
Did they win last week? I know they won their opener.
Yeah, they look really good.
Yeah.
Illinois. So I got Illinois. I'm taking Illinois as well with against Central Michigan. Illinois. You guys are all right. We're all on the same page. Illinois looks really good. They played 2 games. I didn't think they dominated Kansas. Illinois was losing going into the 4th quarter. They physically were winning. Like that might be true.
They just need to get points. They just need to get points on board. They were the more dominant team, even though they were losing.
Sure, whatever. Illinois looked good. I agree with that. They were the underdog. All right, next game, Oregon. Okay, I'm sorry. I skipped one. Notre Dame giving an 11.5 to Purdue at Purdue. Chris, you want to kick us off on this one?
I don't have an idea of what this Notre Dame team is. I'm gonna be honest with you. That week 1 win, it's a big win. Don't get me wrong. You're on the road. I spoke of it earlier. Let's be real though. At A&M on that 4th down conversion, they called the most basic high school 4th and 1 quick slant pass. I'm like, that's all you've got, A&M. Hey, Notre Dame came out victorious. but I don't know what Notre Dame is. I don't know what Riley Leonard has for a comeback. I don't know. I don't know what I can expect out of Marcus Freeman either. I'm gonna go Notre Dame, but I'm not by that big of a margin. I'm seeing a 3 game.
I'm using a
Maybe
pen,
we're
Chris.
talking 10.
Using a pen.
You've got me.
No, because you said I like Notre Dame, and I went to go write your name, and he's
okay.
like, what the fuck, dude? Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So you're taking Purdue?
No. Yeah, I'm gonna take Notre Dame. I'm gonna take Notre Dame.
You think Notre Dame's gonna win, but they're favored by 10.5.
Notre Dame's
gonna be a 3-point. So if it's a 3-point game, you're taking Purdue, then, right?
Yeah, then I'm taking Purdue.
Yeah,
taking Purdue. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, what you got?
All right. I could go on and on about this. If you want to know my full thoughts, go to fightingirishwire.com, part of the USA Today Network.
Coach Stewart's good about that, by the way. He was not talking about how tough it is to play at Purdue, but yeah. He's right about that. But sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to interrupt. Which one?
No, it's okay. So at the beginning of the year, I ranked the top 5 toughest games for Notre Dame to play. 5th on my board was Purdue. This one, I think a lot of people just kind of, dismiss Ryan Walters and the Boilers, but I actually think they're a pretty solid team. Hudson Card dominated week 1, a little bit off this past week, not quite the numbers that he put up in week 1, but you should not have expected those numbers to be repeated. They were just an absurd stat line. And I think that, Notre Dame is, did they? I don't know. Did they?
I think they're on the bye.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
My bad.
They have a week of rest.
My bad. They're not in the top 25. I seem to miss a lot of those teams because I just kind of, anyway.
That's fair.
So, you're looking at it, and Notre Dame doesn't have an identity. Do they have a really good defense? They sure as hell do. Do they understand how to use the offensive skill position players? They sure as hell don't. Mike Denbrock was brought in to fix that offense, and the offense looks just as bad as it did last year. They can't throw the ball. They don't know how to, find the end zone. Riley Leonard still hasn't thrown a touchdown to at least 2 interceptions. I don't believe he threw it in the first game. I don't think so. I don't know which Notre Dame team shows up. The tough one that beat A&M, or what we saw this past weekend against Northern Illinois. I'm taking Purdue in the points. I think Notre Dame wins also, Chris, but I think it's pretty close. I don't think they cover 10.5.
All right, Ryan's with you guys too. He picked Purdue. Go ahead, play my island music, Chris, because I'm on an island at Notre Dame, baby. Listen, I am scared. I'm not going to act like I'm not scared. Purdue is on a bye week, so they got a whole extra week to prepare. And their first game was basically a bye, right? Because they played Indiana State. I'm aware of that. I'm not saying that this is foolproof. I don't have any money on it, but I do feel confident. Like you said, there's a good Notre Dame, there's a bad Notre Dame. What are the odds we're going to get 2 bad Notre Dames in a row?
You got it in 20. You got it in 22.
2 bad games in a row?
Yeah.
What happened in 22?
Openings lost to Marshall and then Ohio State, both at home.
Well, that's not really fair, right?
Marshall was not very good that year, and then you can make an argument they should have beaten the Buckeyes.
Well, I feel like that helps my argument though, because Purdue's not as good as Ohio State, so that means they stepped up. They lost to Marshall, then they stepped up. Yeah. But I thought they played Ohio State first, right? Didn't they play Ohio State then lose to Marshall?
That was last year.
Yeah.
My God, he's lost to Marshall twice already?
No. It's just one. So 22, Freeman's first year, lost to Marshall, lost to Ohio State. Last year was the season opener, lost to Ohio State.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're right. I apologize.
Right.
I apologize.
No.
Okay. All right, cool. No island music, Chris?
No, he played it.
Oh, I can't
There it is
hear it.
again.
Damn it.
Oh, you
I
can't
can't
hear
hear
it.
it. Fuck me. What a bummer.
You gotta
What
get
a- that means I'm
headphones,
not gonna be
man.
able to-
You gotta get headphones, man.
So bummed. I'm so bummed. That's all right. Okay. So moving on. Oregon giving 16.5 to Oregon State in the Civil War in Corvallis. Mike, you want to kick this one off?
Oh,
who
man,
did I have
this
kick
was-
off
this
last
was-
one? Chris first, right? Mike, you go.
Yeah, that's fine. This was so tough because we've seen Oregon play 2 games and struggle. Now they got a rivalry game against the Beavs. I really think they finally figure it out this week. I think they blow them out. So I'm gonna take the Ducks. I'd take the over as well.
Chris, what you got?
Well, last week I said, hey, they win, but they win by like 3 or 7. I listened to you two, and I had a change of heart, and I said, yeah, they bounce back big, and now I look like I have pie on my face.
How dare you
I take-
blame me? I always go last. How dare you?
I
blame me?
will say you're the reason we run over too. But
I'm a reason to. I ramble.
hey, they've got to figure it out sometime. 2 games that were too close for comfort at home. They go to Oregon State. Hey, I'm gonna say this is the week that Oregon figures it out. I'm taking Oregon. I'll take the points.
Okay, so this will be 3 weeks in a row. We'd all take Oregon. So that's not going to bode well. I was really hoping to be on an island this week because I agree with both of you guys. I think that Oregon is going to set the. Oregon State isn't good either. They pounded Idaho State, but Idaho State doesn't have the same number of scholarships, and they didn't like kill them. The score was 21. No, what was it? It was 38-0. And then last week they played San Diego State. San Diego State blows. So it's not like, and they beat them 21-0. It's not like they've been blowing the doors off of their competition either. We've just been so focused on Oregon because that's a Big Ten team. I don't feel like enough hate has been spread to Oregon State. So hopefully, we know that Oregon's going to win with talent. That's not the question. The question is, can they get it to fucking work? So I'm with you guys. Let's rock and roll together one more time. All right, next game. Prairie View A&M goes to East Lansing to take on Michigan State, who was favored. This is one of those games the DraftKings has not released a line. There was a line I saw on an offshore that was like 3 points, and then there was a line. The ESPN's SP Plus rating was 40 points. So I wrote down 40 because I figured that's what makes most sense, right? No, you guys agree or no?
Yeah, I mean, we could have went in the middle and went like 37, but
Yeah.
Okay, all right. You want me to bump it down? You want me to bump it down 37? I mean, that's fair. We all think that Michigan State's going to pound the shit out of them, right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
The question is, do they cover? That's the question, right?
If we can't bet on the game, yeah.
Mm.
You're right. You're right, Coach. Well, I don't. I mean, I think that they beat the spread, whether it's 3 or 40. To be honest with you, do you guys disagree? Prairie View is not good. They're an HBCU.
Give me 30
and not
38.
really.
38.
Yeah,
no,
38 and we'll talk.
38. We're good.
All right. Okay.
38.
So we're all down, and if it goes over 30, I'm just going to count it as a dub. We can
All right.
we can
That
reflect.
works.
All right.
Works.
like
What's
that.
the point of us? We're not going to squibble over. We can't bet on it anyways.
Right.
Next
not splitting
game,
hairs.
Nevada travels to Minnesota, and Minnesota is favored by 16.5. Mike, what you got on this one?
The Gophers are one of those teams where you just don't know who's going to show up, right?
Fair.
They definitely could have beaten Carolina, and then they worked Rhode Island. I think we actually in this one, I think we see the good Minnesota, and what is it, 16.5, right? Yeah, I'll take the Gophers. Yeah.
All right, Chris, what you got?
Yep, I'm with Mike. I'll take Minnesota. Tough week 1. Tough opponent for Minnesota week 1. They bounce back. Nevada looked like absolute shit against SMU that first week, and that's the only time I've seen Nevada play. But they both look like shit. Let's be real. Let's not split hairs here. Yeah, I'll take Minnesota. I think they cover.
Yeah, man, I lost money on the Nevada SMU game because I thought SMU was good. And I was like, oh, well, Nevada competed with them, so maybe Nevada's good. SMU really sucked another dick last week against BYU. So Nevada, SMU's not good. And then Nevada really struggled against Troy, and Troy's not a good team either.
No.
And then they struggled. They lost to Georgia Southern, who's also not a great team. Going to be competing with the Sun Belt, but Minnesota's not in the Sun Belt, boys. So I'm with you. Minnesota's they basically got a bye week last week, right, against Rhode Island. So I'll ride with you on Minnesota. Next game, we got the Apple Cup. Washington State is the underdog against Washington, getting 4.5 points. Chris, what you got?
I bought tickets last week for Washington or Eastern Michigan at Washington. That cost me $20 a ticket. Beautiful seats. Tickets for Saturday's game are already at $198 just to get on in. It's big. It's big up here. Yeah,
Chris,
it's big up here.
Hold on. Chris, what do I see in your hand?
We're not sponsored. This is a grizzly. Oh, hey. These come with 5 more pouches. So,
oh, do they?
Yeah.
Go in the economical way.
Right. Hey, it's a down economy. Washington wins that. What'd you say that spread was for Washington State?
4.5. Washington is favored with 4.5.
Washington wins by more than 4.5.
Yeah. How's that so small? Go Dogs.
Wow.
They're Huskies. Wolf.
Yeah, I understand why it's small. Washington looked like shit last week against Eastern Michigan. They start out slow. They start out slow. They end up finishing the job, but Eastern Michigan, they didn't really roll over. Washington State took down a Texas Tech. Really looked impressive against a Texas Tech team last week in the Mike Leach ceremonial game. And Texas Tech's obviously in the Power 5. So I get Power 4. So I get why the spread's this way. But I'm riding with you guys. I don't think that Washington State is good. Some of that was last week was a little tragic magic, right? They're fighting for Mike Leach and all that. I don't think they're actually that good. So I'll go with Washington, but I don't have a strong handicap towards this. I'm just hoping that they're decent. So next game, Troy travels to Iowa. They will get 22.5 points. Iowa's favored by 22.5 points. Mike, what you got?
I don't know how Iowa lost last week. They choked the hell out of that game. It was exactly how Iowa wants to play, and they lost. I do not understand. Low scoring contest, defensive orientated. Iowa State just made plays at the end of the game and had enough to pull off the upset. I think Iowa gets back on track. I think they blow out Troy.
Chris.
Iowa bounces back. They do in fact blow out Troy. Troy is just they're terrible.
Bad.
We brought it up 2 games ago. They're bad. They're a very bad team.
Bad.
Yeah, they right the ship. They get the big win.
Yeah, man, I'm with you guys. I was the pick here. I was on Iowa State last week. Iowa was in control of the game, and Matt Campbell fashion, he comes back and wins that. Iowa State's a good team. I think Iowa State wins the Big 12 this year. They return a lot. They have a good flow, so I don't really think that's a big knock. Troy, we've talked about Troy sucking, so I'm not going to go into detail again. They're a different team without without Vidal, their running back, who's with the Chargers now. I think he's with the Chargers. When you have a guy in the Sun Belt who gets drafted, that means he's pretty good, and they're missing him. They got dominated by Memphis last week. So let's rock and roll with Iowa together, boys. Next game, Northern Iowa travels to Nebraska.
Give
Northern Iowa. Nebraska's favored.
What's up? Skip one, Bob.
My papers. My paper's out of order because it's in the draft. My paper's based off the drafting order. Okay. Indiana, UCLA. Indiana travels out to the West Coast for UCLA's first Big Ten game at home. Indiana is favored by 2.5. Mike, what you got?
I am going with the Crimson and the Cream. I think Indiana showed last week that they can put up points on the board. I think they're going to continue to do that against a very average UCLA team. I'll take the Hoosiers.
Chris, what you got?
We've got Coach Stewart again. Interested dynamic and IU game, 2 time zone apart, 9:30 p.m. start for the Hoosiers.
I'm not liking Big Ten after dark, by the way.
Right.
I stayed up to watch that USC game. I stayed up to watch the USC game, and I think I went to bed at like 1:30. So
yeah, dude, it's
not
awesome.
liking this Big Ten after dark.
I love it. The more games I can watch with my fiance asleep, the more I win. So you said you're taking Indiana?
Yeah, I got the Hoosiers.
What you got, Chris?
We got Indiana coming into UCLA. I don't know if you know about UCLA, but
Sure, you guys don't know too much about UCLA, but our football program, but we're in LA.
Oh my God, that's motivating.
now we know. But I'm
Get us fired up.
I could hear that. I could hear that.
buddy, I don't know.
My goddamn metal dream.
But no, Indiana big. I mean, we complain about Big Ten after dark, but I get it at 8:30 here, so no problems. Indiana,
you West Coaster.
I'm telling you.
You guys had me doubt myself a little bit. This game was a hard game to pick because here's the deal. And travel does matter a lot for the Big Ten. I think Coach Stu pointed out something really interesting with Indiana traveling so far away, different time zones. They played last week. Now they have had basically 2 byes in a row. They smashed Western Illinois, who was so bad that they played Valpo, and then they smashed Florida International, the airport, in the first week. So they've basically had 2 byes in a row to get time to get ready. So I don't want to say that they're exhausted, but UCLA, they got embarrassed by Hawaii, and now they got a week off to prepare for their first Big Ten game at home in the Rose Bowl. God, if he can't win this, or if he can't at least, I just
competitive.
Yeah, man, that's a lot. That's a lot of bad juju, bro. You know me. I said Kirk Cincinnati is the best coach of the Big Ten, hands down, in my opinion. But dude, you gotta. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it did suck for me because I barely played. You know, I just on the sidelines. Yeah, but he's right. You know, they don't pay. You fly in the day before, but you're still jet lagged and shit. And
yeah.
It's humid. Like it's just you're getting used to the different temperatures and shit. Like it's not a fun experience. You don't get to practice where you don't practice in your home. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. The farther the way you travel, the bigger pain in the ass it is. Yeah. And it's their first Big Ten game, and they had a bye week, dude. They should be able to pull this out. If they can't, UCLA is in fucking trouble. So,
are you on an island?
What?
Are you on an island?
I'm on an island, baby. Yeah, here. Some Moses have pants. So, all right, next game. So Northern Illinois. So Northern Iowa travels to Nebraska. Nebraska is favored by 26.5. Chris, what you got? Or I'm sorry, I started with Chris last time. Mike, what you got?
I like the Huskers coming back after the big win against Colorado. Dylan Raiola played very well. I like what Matt Rule's doing over there in Lincoln. I like the Huskers. I think they're undefeated when they face Ohio State. I think we're going to see a top 15. I think they'll hit somewhere in the high teens by the time they play the Buckeyes, and it's going to be 2 undefeated teams.
Okay, so you got Nebraska dropping to 26.5.
Yep.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with everything Mike said. Nebraska is 7-0 coming into Columbus. They're 23 now. Let's go ahead and just mark it down now. They'll be 14 coming into Columbus as a 7-0 record. But this game's over at half. Nebraska.
Yeah.
You dropping the 26.5?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, I'm riding with you boys. Northern Iowa's not really that good, anyways. They beat a team that's not even. I don't think they beat like a Division II team last week by 1 touchdown, and then they barely beat Valparaiso, which again I played for them. So if I'm hanging with you, it's an issue, right? So I think we all agree that you know what I mean. Like Raiola ain't visiting Valparaiso, Indiana. So yeah, Nebraska all the way. Mind you, when we did the preseason rankings, this isn't going to surprise your good friend Josh because I had Nebraska rolling undefeated all the way to Ohio State as well preseason-wise. But let's roll into the next game. Eastern Illinois travels to Evanston, Illinois to take on the Northwestern Wildcats, who are favored by 23 points. Chris, what you got?
Northwestern wins. They don't win by 23 points. I don't see it. I don't see the offense there, man. I don't. It's almost like a Pop Warner offense. Mike Wright's not bad. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know, man. I'm not seeing a lot. And the running back, Porter.
I
Yeah,
don't
he was.
know if you
He's
saw
going.
the.
He's
I
going
don't know
off.
if you saw the news today, but they did make a quarterback change.
Oh wow, no, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
so
I didn't
Jack
see that
Lausch,
either.
Jack Lausch, who I've known Jack since he was a sophomore in high school, went
Okay.
to Brother Rice here in the Chicagoland area. Originally committed to play baseball at Notre Dame and was going to walk on the football team, but Northwestern came in late with a scholarship offer. Jack played a little bit his freshman year, played a little bit last year. Jack is the consummate winner. I love Jack. I don't think they cover.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ride with Northwestern again. I rode with them last week. Clearly, I have what's their team? Purple colored glasses. I do think Cam Porter is enough to win. Eastern Illinois is not good. We talked about them. They're the ones that lost to Illinois 45-0. So Northwestern just has to be half as good as Illinois to beat that spread. And I think they can. They are going to come out with a vengeance. That was a pretty embarrassing loss. They really did handle Duke. I mean, Chris, you nailed it. Their offense blows, but their defense was very good last week until Duke turned into the greatest show on turf in the overtime for some reason.
Manny Diaz, baby.
Unbelievable. They tore him up in overtime.
Yeah, and that was it though. It was really wild. So I'm hoping that they come out improved. I don't like the quarterback change. Mike Wright is not good. I said that in the preseason. He's not good, but he does run around, and I think that Northwestern wins when they control the ball. Mike Wright was the Vanderbilt quarterback who beat Hawaii on opening day.
That's what Jack does. Jack doesn't turn the ball.
Then I'm cool with it because Mike Wright's not good, right? I said that Mike Wright had a really good game 2 years ago on the week 0 against Hawaii, and then he got benched, and then he transferred to Mississippi State where he never really played because Will Rogers. So he's not a good quarterback. I'm fully aware of that. He's the DJU of lower Big Ten football. But again, I liked his play style, which didn't work out last week. He was really bad. So I'll ride with Northwestern. I'll be on the island again. This week is definitely going to be man versus boys on this one. We're going to find out. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, right. They definitely need to.
They'll take a Jimmy G.
Yeah, they'll take anybody.
Shit. All right. So I think Jimmy G actually was better in college than Tony Romo. I think Jimmy G's the one that's got all the records, but I can't remember. Maryland goes to Virginia. Maryland is favored by 2.5.
Virginia.
Playing away. What you guys, Chris, or who started up? Mike, what you got?
I like the Cavs here. Maryland is good, but I think that the step up in competition is going to hurt them. I mean, they won their opening game against UConn, and then they played I think an average at best Michigan State team. Virginia's got 2 decent wins, although they gave up a little bit more than you'd like against Wake Forest. It was a little bit closer than 30-31. But they're playing at home, and I just home dogs, man, home dogs.
Chris, what you got?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That Michigan State Maryland game, even at times, it's like either the team didn't want to win, honestly. In that fourth quarter, it's like neither of them wanted to win. Give Virginia, give them the obviously, like I said, the step up in competition. Give them the night home game. Everybody in town's watching. I'll take Virginia.
Yeah, dude, I like everything you guys are saying. We're on it again. I'll never understand why Virginia isn't awesome. College football's lucky I'm not there. I don't think
a ton of high school talent too. You're right, Coach. They got a ton of high school talent. Boggles my mind.
Who's down there? It's the former Tony Elliott. I don't think Tony Elliott's going to get it done there either. But I am taking Virginia here. I'm glad you guys are on the same page as me because I'm not gonna lie, we got a few differences here. I'm like, this is gonna be a difference-making week, so I need to hang. But yeah, man, you're getting Mike. You summarized it well. The home team is the dog in a Power 4 conference, bro. Yeah. Why? And then Wake Forest. Right. I remember too. I don't really. I have a little bit rosy-colored glasses when it comes to Dave Clawson coach teams. I don't want him to coach Ohio State. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's a very solid coach. So I think that excuses the Wake Forest.
And they run
game
a super gimmicky. They run a super gimmicky offense that is hard to defend.
I can see that.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll ride with Virginia. And Maryland's not good. Maryland really sucked last week, and they played one shitty team at the beginning. It was like Citadel or whatever. If they don't win the state, they would be
Agreed.
great with just Virginia guys. But I know. That's a fucking
true.
fact.
So true. Got to get back to the Thomas Jones era.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
But that's it, guys. We agree. Oh wait.
We got.
Oh, never mind.
Say
That's
again?
mine.
Do we have one more?
No. We've got.
I'm an idiot. I forgot to write down mine.
Oh, okay. I got you. You were just a little delayed on my end. No, hey, I've been brought on to produce this show and give you guys great graphics and keep you both on track. We went over, but I'm going to give you each 5 minutes. And with that first 5 minutes, we're going to go in a new segment. We're going to call it "What's Got Mike Miffed." That's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it "What's Got Mike Miffed." Oh God, please no.
As we talked about in our group chat, I am very much concerned about preseason rankings. I feel like they just don't make sense. We are coming into a season where we're just making assumptions about what teams did last year and not what they've accomplished this year. I think that, yes, I get it. I understand why the polls are there. It's for clicks. It's for people to watch. It's for people to, it's so that they can hype up top 25 matchups, et cetera, et cetera. But in my eyes, when you look at the way that this works, and thank you, Chris, for this graphic, you're looking at multiple teams that, were ranked in the preseason, have made significant drops. Michigan losing to Texas, significant drop. Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois, significant drop. Florida State losing both of their first 2 games of the year, a significant drop. Obviously, out of the rankings entirely, their program is in disarray. And then you look at, a team like Miami, who was underranked, and, Clemson, obviously, again, they're overranked. We see it time and time again. There's teams every season inside the top 10 that finish outside of the rankings. And it just makes no sense to me. I just don't get it. I'm at a point where I feel like real rankings, like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get that. I'm going back to the fact that, yes, you have to hype up these games somehow for people to tune in, to watch, right? But I don't think that they really should matter until at least a quarter way through the season. Week 4 should be when we should really be like, okay, I have enough data points on this team. They're good. I have enough data points on that team. They're bad. I have enough data points on this team. They're mid, right? So I think that at the end of the day, I understand why they are, but I don't think we should put as much credit into these rankings early on in the season as we actually do. Because if you think about it this way, and obviously, covering Notre Dame, I've seen the highs and the lows, right? You beat a Texas A&M team that is a ranked team, but is Texas A&M really good? Like, I don't know. That's what concerns me about that win, because you automatically assume, and this is what happened to Notre Dame, they get overconfident and then they play under what they should be playing, right? And when that happens, when you get hyped up for a week 1 win against a ranked team, you just automatically assume that you're world beaters and that everything's okay. But we don't actually know that. The team is different. Every team is different. I mean, if you look at the teams that have made the significant drops, every single one of them have lost their quarterback from last year. And when you kind of add up all the data points that we've gotten so far earlier on in the season, these preseason rankings just don't match up with what we've seen on the field the last 2 weeks. So I'm at a point where I'm still going to pay attention to them, but I'm going to take them with an extreme grain of salt the first couple weeks of the season, because we just don't know. There's not enough data. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. That's it. That's all I got. I try to keep it. I try to keep it under 5 minutes. I succeeded.
No, you still got some time. You're good.
No, I'm good. I'm done ranting. I'm done. I mean, what do you guys think? Like, we got a couple extra, like a minute or so. What do you guys, real quick answers on this? Thank you.
Chris, what's that?
I totally agree, Ryan. I'm totally on board with that. I'd be willing to, But the thing is, though, you got conference. Some teams start conference play week 1, so that puts a little bit of wrench into your idea. So I think 4 games, a 4-game sample size is enough for us to say, all right, this team is good, this team is bad, this team is average.
Well, not really, because even then, if you look at Ohio State, their first 4 games are against garbage, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like you said earlier, though, you don't need to see you can see that they are one of the best teams in the country, regardless of kind of what that end score is. You even said it yourself earlier, right? They probably could have. You know what I'm saying? They could have won 77-0 if they wanted to. They didn't.
Right, and I agree with you, but in order for you to, but also you could make that same argument for Ole Miss. You can make who's also played no. I'm using Ohio State as an example because we all watch Ohio State. My issue I agree with everything you said. They're not rankings. They're fucking predictions. And then the problem, and I don't have an issue with these predictions or these rankings, but the problem is that you have these guys that don't want to evolve and move past them, right? So like you said, like Florida State at 10, right? Like, okay, well then they lost, and like you could tell that's a bad example because they immediately dropped off the face of the earth. But like a team like Michigan, like, you know, they dropped down from 9 to 17. And it's like, dude, why they should be okay with them not being in the top 25. There are many undefeated teams in college football. Michigan got their ass slapped. Move the fuck on, but they're not going to because they have to keep the integrity of their initial rankings, which is that's the part that sucks, right? You know, we talked in our chat last week, like, and Chris was like, oh, you got Miami moving up to 5. That's a shit ton. You move them all the way up to 5, and it's like, well, every week should be independent, their own independent rankings. That's the real issue. You have to be fluid within the rankings. If they were fluid, I don't think anybody would give a shit. But the problem is they're not. You know, the guy who votes for Ole Miss at 4 really wants Ole Miss to be at number 4 because he wants to be right. You know what I mean? The writer who did that wants to be right. So it takes a lot for them to budget down. But it is hard to evaluate, you know, a team like Ohio State who's played 4 cupcakes against a team like Georgia who's played 3 cupcakes and 1 good team, or a team like Ole Miss who's played 4 cupcakes. Or, you know, Miami who's played, well, you know, it's just a pain in the ass. So that's my opinion. It's dumb. I agree with you. It's dumb.
Great comment here from Coach Stewart. You think these people could actually draw a cover 2 coverage on a board? You would be mistaken. I absolutely agree with you, Coach Stewart, and I agree with the
full zoner, man.
Yeah, I agree with both what you're saying.
Well,
you guys
I think that
100%.
Yeah, I think some of the issue too is that they're not even watching every game. How can you?
Yeah.
How can you rank something if you're not watching?
I mean,
the
coaches polls are rarely done by the actual coaches. Usually, it's just the staff.
It's always done by a staff member.
Right. Like the coaches don't actually vote in that poll.
It's always done by the director or whatever. You know, the
Right.
Jerry's, right?
Or yeah, the SIDs are right. Yeah.
There you go. The SIDs. That's what sports information directors. There you go.
Right.
Yeah, that's who they're done by.
Right.
100% agree.
No, I agree 100% with both you said, as well as Coach Stewart in there. It's a prediction. We could sit here and say, hey, wait till week so and so, but I think more than anything, I think I would like to see just almost like a litmus test or a social experiment. If we were to just take 2 shitty football teams and put numbers next to their names, what does the viewership change? And I think it does, in a sense, in a small sense, it does boil down to that. If I were to put a 9 and a 8 against each other, how much more viewers tune into that game? And I don't know.
I'd love to know that as well. That would be a really good experiment, because I know that I am going to watch Ohio State in the Big Ten every week. I watch every Big Ten. Well, I didn't get to this week yet because you guys want to do this podcast on Monday, which is great. Great idea. Great idea. But I watch every Big Ten team every week. I watch every Big Ten game every week. Like, that's what I go out of my way to do it, no matter what the rankings are. But you know, that's not every fucking team in college football, right? And I don't know if everybody does that. So that would be a great experiment.
Well, it would be a great experiment. Then also we get close to getting back to those BCS bowl or BCS point system. I'm a big UFC fan. I've been clamoring for years to get some kind of standardized scoring. Can we get some kind of standardized scoring when it comes to ranking? But then again, we teeter back to the BCS era, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Doesn't matter. Was it different? I don't know. I just wish you and I talked about this on the phone yesterday, so I won't bore everybody, but I just wish that there were more finite rules to how the seat. Until we know what the rules are, it's always going to be an invitational. It's not a playoff. It's an invitational because people are picking them.
Can't argue that. And we'll get to our last segment. Hot off the presses.
Hot.
We've got Josh's power picks of the week.
Look at those guns.
All right, so I'll keep this short and sweet. So far, Josh's power picks are 2-6, baby. So don't trail me. Last week we took. Who do we take, boys? You guys remember? Who did I take?
I knew it wasn't Rich Rod.
No, it was definitely not. It was. So last week we took Texas. So I won that. Took Utah, which Utah was in complete control until Cam Rising got hurt, and then they didn't score a point in the second half. And then I took Georgia Tech, who turned out to be a fraud. So that's on me. We'll learn from our mistakes. It's a little bit harder to do this on a Monday, which I do. I'm giving you a hard time, but I do love doing the Monday show because we're gonna get it out there early, get more clicks. Yeah. But it is a little bit hard because I don't have time to look up the injury reports, this and that. Right? I'm still watching, siphoning through some of those games. But my immediate reaction to some of these games, Michigan, we talked about that. I think Michigan comes out with the burr up their ass, ready to prove themselves against a really shitty Arkansas State team. Georgia given 24 to Kentucky. Kentucky hasn't been good at all. They look completely lost, and Georgia looks to be on complete fire. So I expect that to be a blowout. And we talked about Virginia getting 2 points against Maryland. Virginia is they're the home team. So they're getting points, and they're a Power 4 team against a Maryland team that looked like shit against Michigan State. So I'm all about that action. So that's where we're at with Josh's picks.
All
you guys
the
got any
home
comments on
dogs,
those games?
man. Give me those home dogs, baby, all day long. Home dogs.
That's right. Chris, you got anything to add about those picks?
No, man. I think you're spot on. I think this might be the week you go 3-0, my friend.
Ooh.
I think this is the week.
It's the kiss of death.
Oh, I know. You didn't win a damn thing now.
I know, right?
All right, boys. Let's wrap it up. We got anything else tonight?
Nope.
No, follow me on Twitter, Josh Keatley 16, and follow my work at Buckeyes Wire. What you guys got?
Yeah, make sure that you follow, subscribe our YouTube channel. We're still trying to get those numbers up. I guess you could read my stuff on Fighting Irish Wire, but it's not much Buckeye related out there anymore. So you can if you want. I'm not going to say no. But yeah, that's you can follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Mike S. Chin. Chris, any last words?
No, hey, you can follow me here on Wednesdays. Happy to be here. Happy to produce this top-notch Mondays. Oh, hell, look at me, my own product. Here on Mondays, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to put together and facilitate you gentlemen being passionate Buckeye fans.
Love it. We appreciate your work very much, Chris. All right, that'll do it for us on the Ohio State of Mind contest. Oh, yeah, huge shout out. Chris, what you're doing is absolutely unbelievable. That is it for us, episode number 43 on the Ohio State of Mind podcast. Thank you for listening, and go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.